fractions. So whenever we talk about fractions, we talk about ratios, we talk about parts, we put things together, we break it down, we talk about division, we talk about improper and proper fractions, mixed numbers. So fractions has multiple things, and they can be scary, but they don't have to be. If we can understand and learn the rules that go with it, it makes it a lot smoother transition. So let's talk about it. I want to explain to you the difference between proper, improper, mixed number, and whole number. If you'll look, this is a whole number. This 3 is a whole number. It's also a ratio because it's seen to be over 1. We just don't write the 1 in the denominator because it's unsimplified if you do. Then we have this fraction here that has a 4 in front of it. This is a mixed number. A mixed number says a whole number and a decimal. So this would, if I was to figure out 1/5 is in decimal form, I can rewrite this as 4.2. Does that make sense? Okay, so is it mixed number? A mixed number can be converted to an improper fraction. Okay, they work well together. They can convert back and forth. And what is an improper fraction? Well, improper fraction is when the numerator, the top number, is larger than the bottom number. Okay, so that would be an improper fraction. So let's convert this 4/5, which is a mixed number, to an improper fraction. That means the denominator always stays the same. We're not going to change the denominator, okay? So just go ahead and bring it over. Now let's follow the rules. It says we're going to take the denominator and multiply it to the whole number. So now we got 5 times 4, which is 20. And then we're going to add it to our numerator. So 20 plus 1, and I got 21. So here is my improper fraction. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and put 3 divides that 21/5. And now we're going to follow a rule with dividing fractions. Okay, if it was multiplication, we'd move on. But dividing a fraction, we got to use a rule. The rule says we're going to keep, change, flip. What does that mean? We're going to keep the first term the same. We're going to change division to multiplication, and we're going to flip the second term. So let's do that. I got 3 times 5 over 21. Since that 3 is a whole number, some of us that are visual really needs to put that 1 underneath it. Why? Because when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across, but you also can reduce, and I see that my 3 and 21 reduces. 3 goes into itself once, goes into 21 7 times. So now I have 5/7 as my answer. This is a proper fraction because the numerator is smaller than the denominator. This is a proper fraction. Okay, so now let's go on to the next example with fractions. Again, I got a mixed number going on right here. Now, there's more than one way to solve problems with these fractions. I'm teaching you the most simplest way of doing it. If you want to do it another way and you want to talk about it, holler at me. I'd love to talk to you about it. I'm not saying this is the only way. I'm just telling you that this is the most simplest way of solving. So what I would do is go ahead and convert this to a improper fraction. And I notice my operation is subtraction, so it's a different rule. Adding and subtracting of fractions have to have a least common denominator. So that's why I want to go ahead and clean this up as much as I possibly can. So I know that when I rewrite my mixed number as improper, my denominator does not change. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I'm going to put a 1 underneath my 2 because I am going to have to find that least common denominator. So I'm just going to go ahead and write it that way. So next, let's say 4 times the whole number, which is 28, plus the numerator. So we got 28 plus 3, which is 31. So now, in order to subtract these two, I need to find the least common denominator, meaning a number that both denominators will go into. Maybe not the same amount of times, but they will go into it. So I notice that I have a 4 here, and I have a 1. 4 will go into 4, and 1 will go into 4. So 4 is my least common denominator. So I got to multiply top and bottom by this one fraction to get it, the 4 in the denominator. So now I have 31 over 4. I have 2 times 4, which is 8. 1 times 4, which is 4. And I'm almost done. What I'm going to go ahead and do is write my 31 minus 8 all over 4. So now I can say 31 minus 8 gives me 23. This is an improper fraction. It does not reduce. 4 won't go into 23, so we know that we're just done there. So I have an improper fraction here. I want to show you how to convert it to a mixed number. Okay, so this is an improper fraction, so make sure and read what it asks us for. Sometimes it wants you to write it either or, sometimes it doesn't matter. So that's improper. Let's convert this to a mixed number. To convert it to a mixed number, know that the denominator did not change. So it was a 4, I'm going to put a 4 down there. Next, we ask ourselves, 4 times what? 4 times what will equal 23? Well, we know it won't equal 23 because if it would have reduced. But we want to know that it gets close to 23. It can't go above it, but it can get close to it, okay? And we know that 4 times 5 is 20. So that is my whole number. So now that we figured that out, we say, okay, 4 times 5 plus what equals 23? Well, 4 times 5 is 20. That means we need to add 3 to it, so that's my numerator. So now I wrote it as a mixed number. So we got, I got a complex one too. So I got 2 more I would like to do. They're going to get more complicated. So let's talk about it. I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 under my 5. I am visual. A 1 under my 3. And I'm going to break it down. I see that I got a subtraction and I got a division. And what does that tell me? That tells me that division comes first. It comes before my subtraction. I also notice my fractions is in an improper, or is a proper fraction and a ratio. So I'm good. There's no converting mixed numbers or improper numbers. So next, I want to go ahead and just bring down the 5 over 1 and the minus, and I'm going to apply my rule for division of fractions. It says I'm going to keep the first term. I'm going to change division to multiplication, and I'm going to flip the second. Now I see that I have this subtraction again, and I have the minus, or the multiplication. Multiplication comes before that subtraction, so I'm going to reduce if I can. If I can't, I'm going to go ahead and multiply straight across. But what I see is that my 3's reduce, so yay, that worked out nice. And now I have, let's rewrite it, I have 5 over 1 minus 1 over 4 times 1 over 1, which is what? Just 1/4, right? So now I have 5 minus, or excuse me, 5 over 1 minus 1/4. Okay, in order to subtract these fractions, I have to have a common denominator. And I see that in my denominator I have a 1 and I have a 4. I know 4 will go into 4 and I know 1 will go into 4, so that tells me 4 is my least common denominator, so I have to multiply this one fraction by 4, and that gives me 5 times 4 is 20, 1 times 4 is 4. And then minus 1 over 4. And I'm going to clean it up one more time. Some of you are not going to want to do the extra step. I do it because I'm so visual that I need to see it sometimes. And now I got 20 minus 1, which is 19 over 4. 19's prime. 4 will not go into 19. So this is my answer. It is an improper fraction. So I'm going to write it as a mixed number just for practice for y'all. So if I write it as a mixed number, I know that the denominator does not change. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I ask myself, 4 times what, right, will get me close to 19? Well, I know that 4 times 4 is 16. If I say 4 times 5 is 20, that busted. It went over the 19, so we got to stay below 19. So let's say it's going to be 4. So 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus what to get 19? Plus 3. So now I have my mixed number. So I have my answer in improper and mixed number form. Now, so let's take a minute and let's look at this next one. This next one is a lot going on. Some of you see these and you're going to go, oh, you're going to freak out. Don't freak out, okay? Just take it in parts. It could have been written where this here, it could have been typed up as this 2 4/9 plus the 1/18 all over that other one. I mean, it could have been written 2 different ways, guys. This is more than one way to write this, okay? But either way it goes, I just want you to do it in parts. I want you to take a breath, and I want you to read it left to right and do the first part. Do the first part first. Let's focus on this, and then we come back to the next part, okay? So the first part says that we have this mixed number plus a mixed number. So before I can add, I need to go ahead and convert them to impropers, and then I got to find the least common denominator. So let's do that. Whenever I convert it to an improper fraction, I know the denominators don't change. So next I say, okay, 9 times 2 is 18. 18 plus 2 is 22. Okay, then I said 18 times 1 is 18. 18 plus 1 is 19. Alright, so we almost done here. So let's keep going straight down. That way we can keep them in the line. So now I'm going to say, what is my least common denominator? Well, I notice I have 18 and I have 9. 18 will go in 18 and 9 will go in 18. So let's multiply this one fraction by 2 because it will give me 18. And when I do that, I get 22 times 2, which is what? 44 over 18 plus the 19 over 18. And now that my denominators are the same, I'm going to go ahead and write it all over the 18. And we are going to now clean this last side up, or this first side up, clean it up, this last step, clean it up. So 44 plus 19 is 63. And before I rule this out, I want to make sure and reduce if possible. And I know that 9 goes into 63, right? And I also know it goes into 18. So 9 goes, and let's do an extra step right quick, guys, just in case, because some visual people need to see it. I know that 9 times 7 is 63. I know that 9 times 2 is 18. So if I do this, these two reduce down and leaves me with 7 halves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. Well, I'm going to add a new page here in a minute. I'm going to write it right here real small, and then when we get to this part, we'll have to add a new page. 7 halves. Okay, so now let's come up, and this here, I'm going to grab it and I'm going to come all the way down with it. I want to make sure and carry it. I don't want to forget it. I'm going to save that for after it's all cleaned up. Alright, so now let's come up here and let's clean up this parentheses. I got a mixed number minus a proper fraction. So when I do this, I notice the denominators don't change. And this proper fraction, I'm just going to keep bringing it down because, I mean, it's already in its form. So next, I'm going to say 9 times 1 is 9 plus 2 is 11. Alright, let's bring down the 1. So we didn't have to change that. I could have left it. Let's do it like that. So now we need to find the least common denominator, something that they both go into. Well, I know that 3 will go into 9, right? I know 9 will go into 3. But I also know that 9 goes into 18 and 6 goes into 18. So I saw that the values of 3 in both of these. So if I want this to become, let's go down a little bit. Let me take this 11 ninths. I'm going to multiply it by something to get 18 in my denominator. And I'm going to take this 1/6 and I'm going to multiply it by something to get 18 in the denominator. So I know 2 times 9 is 18, so I got to multiply the top. I know that 6 times 3 is 18, so I got to multiply the top. Now let's go ahead and clean this up. 11 times 2 is 22. 9 times 2 is 18. Bring down the minus. 1 times 3 is 3. 6 times 3 is 18. And now that my denominators are the same, I got 18 on bottom and 22 minus 3. And then my 22 minus 3 gives me 19 over 18. And this won't reduce. If it would, I would reduce it down. So let me add a new page right quick. Alright, so let's see what we got. So our new page gave us, it's going too fast. Alright, our new page is going to be 7/2 divided by 19/18. Alright, so we're going to apply the rule for dividing by fractions. We're going to keep our first term the same. Keep it the same. We're going to change our operation, change division to multiplication. We are going to flip our second term. And then next, we are going to reduce if possible. Well, I know 2 and 18 reduces. So, next, we're going to say 7 times 9. It's 63. 1 times 19 is 19. This is my improper fraction. And we went over how to convert it to a mixed number. So if you need to convert it to a mixed number, you would just keep the denominator the same, right? We don't change it. Let me write it over here. Denominator is the same, don't change it. And then we ask ourselves, 19 times what gets close to 63? Well, 19 times 3 is going to get, I'm double checking right quick, 19 times 3 is 57, right? And what do I got to add to 57 to get 63? 6. So this is my mixed number. Thank you.